Hello, and welcome to the Misty Morrison podcast. I'm your host, the wonderful Misty Morrison. So, let me tell you a little bit about the podcast. Here on the Misty Morrison podcast, we have 3 different segments. We have Was I in the Wrong, which was our initial launching segment, where I read Reddit stories and give my opinion. It's mostly Am I the Asshole type stories, where people are either asking if they acted appropriately in a situation that's already passed or asking how to deal with a current situation. The next segment that we have is Petty Please, where we read stories of pettiness, entitlement, kind of Karen behavior. And then we also have What the Fluff, where I read stories. A lot of the stories will be from, tales from the front desk, tales from retail, tales from customer service, tales from tech support, those kind of stories, just where it's just unbelievable the way that people acted. So that is basically what the podcast is. I read the stories, give my opinion. While this is available in audio format, podcast only, or video on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment down below with your judgment on the stories or your advice. If you are listening on podcast, you can comment on socials. You can find me at Misty Morrison Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I post twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do post more Was I in the Wrong than we do of Petty Please and What the Fluff. So that's mostly the content that we have. And most of our episodes, we aim for the 20 to 30 minute mark for episodes. So it's not super short, but it is still easy to digest. Maybe it can get you through your morning or afternoon commute. I also have my own subreddit, r/Misty Morrison Podcast, where you can submit your own stories to be read on the podcast. I always try to remember to put the link to the original stories on Reddit in the description box below in case you guys would like to read the original story for yourselves, or even better, leave a comment for the original poster or OP. If you are watching on YouTube, please go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. It helps the channel grow. And if you are listening on podcast, go ahead and leave a 5-star review if you like the content. That is our introduction, so let's get into the stories. Hello, and welcome to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, the wonderful Misty Morrison, and this is episode 6 of Was I in the Wrong? Let's jump into our first story. So our first story is coming from r/AITA_relationships. It's a new one we're looking at today. Sorry, trying to save it to the clipboard so I can add the link to our episode notes later. Where are my notes? Guys, it's been a while since I've recorded. I'm kind of lost today. Where are my notes? Okay. Okay, scroll down, episode 6. Okay, we're really going this time. All right. So our first story is coming from r/AITA_relationships. AITA for being hurt at what my boyfriend said. Hello, my partner and I have been together for just over a year and are in a long-distance relationship. Everything is going amazing, and I truly believe that this is the person I want to spend my life with. I only have one problem: his inability to be vulnerable and communicate. One night we were on the phone and I asked something along the lines of, "Who are you most vulnerable with?" He listed his parents and best friend. I was taken aback at this because we'd been together for so long and shared what I believed to be the most intimate parts of ourselves with each other. I kept quiet for a while. He asked if I was okay, but in all honesty, I wasn't. I was confused. After a few moments of silence, I asked him when I'd make it into his list, and he replied with a simple, "Soon." Soon? Excuse me? I understand that it takes a while to fully open yourself up to someone, but it's been a year with promises of forever and marriage. How can that happen if I'm not on his people I can be vulnerable with list? I'm just upset, conflicted, hurt. Whew. Okay, so today was not a great day to read the story. I'm feeling very jaded today. But we'll try to put that aside for the sake of the story, for the sake of OP. Okay, so the question is, how can forever a marriage happen if you're not on his people I can be vulnerable with list? I want to say I think it's okay if you're not on that list. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you should trust each other and be able to come to each other with important things. And maybe you kind of need to delve more into what his definition of vulnerable is. Because maybe the two of you are describing it differently, and really you would be on the list if you were looking at it the same. But also I can say, like, my husband's not on that list for me. Just not, and it works out just fine. If that's like a requirement for you and you don't feel like you're there yet, or he doesn't feel like you're there yet, maybe it's just more time spent together. Maybe finally when you guys are not long distance, you'll get there. I think really being that vulnerable with somebody takes time. And after only a year, I mean, he's known his parents for his whole life. He's probably known his best friend for longer than a year. So I think in this case, give it time. I don't think not being on the list, because this 1 year you should be on the list, that's your timeline. And everyone has a different timeline for comfortability and vulnerability and trust. So I think give it more time. Explore exactly what his definition of the list is. Maybe question him on why you don't make the list. Like, see if there's anything that you can work on yourself. But mostly I think this is just going to take time. I don't think at all that this is a deal breaker or like a relationship ender. I think you're just not there yet. So, I mean, that one doesn't get a right, wrong, or a mess. It's just kind of what it is. So if you're asking, if you're wrong, well, because the title is AITA for being hurt at what my boyfriend said. So no, you are not wrong. You're right. You're never the asshole for feeling any certain way. Like, you are allowed to feel your feelings. You're entitled to whatever reaction you have to that information. Yeah. I hope we're going uphill from here, guys. And that one's actually, so I'm recording episode 6 on December 29th, and this one's actually only 2 days old, and it only has 3 comments. So I will go ahead and comment on that one. But yeah, OP could definitely use some more advice. All right, let's pick another one. Okay, so, gotta copy our link over. So the thing about when I pick the stories is, like, I scroll through Reddit and I pick out titles that look interesting and I save them. And then when I sit down to record, like, I save them based on the title. So when I sit down to record is when I actually open the story for the first time. And so that's also when I copy the link over here on my phone and add it to like my notepad list so that I can include it in the episode notes for you guys. So sorry that takes a minute in between. If you're on audio, I know the pauses can be awkward. So yeah, that's why. All right. Story number 2 is from r/relationship advice. I'm feeling uneasy, 28 female, about my husband, 27 male, even though I know nothing happened. Yesterday was Christmas, and my husband had organized to have a work friend, female, a bit older than both of us, over for the afternoon, as she doesn't really have any friends or family for Christmas, which I was fine with, as she occasionally comes over after they finish work. I had work today, so I could stay up. I had work today, so I could stay up too late with them. Okay, I think she meant to say I couldn't stay up too late with them. Sorry. Road bump. She shows up at like 7 p.m. and I headed to bed around 10 to 10:30 p.m. I woke up around 2 a.m. and she was still over drinking together. Woke again around 4 a.m. and husband was just getting in bed and she was gone. I know he wouldn't do anything like cheat, but I still feel a bit weird that she stayed that long. I know the best thing would be to actually talk with him, but I won't have a chance until way later in the day. Just wanted a bit of outside perspective, as this is all I can think of, and I'm getting a bit worked up in my head. Okay, so you admit you know nothing happened. So go with that. Stop building it up in your head. I know my husband has stayed out drinking, well, like not even out, like I was there. And I also went to bed because the night owl battery does expire eventually. And like stayed up drinking with female friends until like 6 a.m. I was not staying up that long. Like I like those friends too, but I'm not staying up till 6 a.m. I'm just not. So I don't think it's a problem. Like if you trust your husband, if you know he wouldn't do anything, then what's the problem? Like she stayed a long time. They were drinking. That's probably the only reason she stayed that long. And it was probably good conversation. So let's see. Just want a bit of outside perspective as this is all I can think of, and I'm getting a bit worked up in my head. Just turn your head off. Stop thinking about it. Everything is fine. And just you can just casually ask him when you get home later. It's like, hey, I know so and so was here for quite a while last night. What'd you guys end up talking about after I went to bed? Like that's a really easy question. It's non accusatory. And it really just seems like you're interested in like the time that he had that night. So, I mean, I don't think anyone was right or wrong here. It's not a mess. It's just something that happened. Calm down, OP. Let's see. Story number 3. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay. Copy your link. All right, story number 3 today comes to us from r/would I be the a-hole? Would I be the asshole for not inviting my parents to my wedding when they don't support my relationship? I always forget to give you guys my opinion when I read the title before I start the story. For this one, initial reaction, no, because your wedding is a time to celebrate your relationship. So why would you invite anybody that doesn't support you? Immediate answer, you are right. For context, very brief. I, 21, was in a relationship with a woman, 22, that I absolutely loved. Her mental health took a huge nosedive, and she said some nasty things to me that she regrets. However, because of that and my dishonesty towards my parents about being back together after a 2-month breakup, she is unwelcome in my parents' house, will be denied entry. I am currently in therapy working on my own trust issues with them, but if they don't understand that I'm happy with her and she's good for me, I'm thinking I'll just keep them completely away from everything. I just want to know if the logic of the being uninvited to the wedding is fair if my partner can't even enter their house. Okay, OP, you are right. Sorry, I thought my battery light came on. Okay. OP, you are right to want to cut them out. And I understand everyone's different with forgiveness and like how long it takes to forgive, what you can move past, if you're even willing to forgive something at all. So clearly they have not forgiven her. And like that's their right. Like it's their house. They can, deny whoever they want. I will admit that it definitely does make a relationship easier if the in-laws like the spouse. 100,000% it helps. But if that's not the case, if you love her and you are willing to walk away from your family in favor of this relationship, then you are right to not invite them. Because why? And not, would they even come? But why would you invite them to celebrate your special day knowing that they are not really there celebrating with you? They might be the people who show up to object when that chance of the ceremony comes. Yeah. There were people that I didn't invite to my wedding, and everyone's like, "Oh, did you invite this person? Why don't you invite them?" Like, because if I invite them, they might come, and I don't want them to come. So I'm not inviting them. To me, it's really straightforward. You don't feel like they approve. You know that they dislike her. They are not welcoming towards her. They do not approve of your relationship. There's no reason for them to be there. putting a cloud over your happy day. So I think you're right. Hopefully they can get past it. Like once you guys are married and they see that things are working between you guys, maybe they'll come around. But I would just be very clear with them about the reasons why they're not getting an invitation to the wedding. If they cannot be welcoming to you guys as a couple, then you will not be welcoming to them. Fair is fair. All right. Story number 4. Ooh, this looks like a good one. All right, this next story is coming to us from r/would I be the a-hole. Would I be the a-hole if I told my grandmother to stop bringing me gifts from my estranged mother? Throwaway account and all that. I'll try to keep this short. I'm a 30-year-old adult. I have been no contact with both of my parents for 9 years now, almost a decade. I went no contact back then because frankly my dad is abusive physically, mentally, emotionally, and my mom is no better with how much she enables him. Before I went no contact, I spent a good period of 6 months, yes, 6 months, talking in circles with my mom about how much the way she and my dad would treat me and my siblings was painful, shameful, and degrading. Every time she would acknowledge how awful it all was, then excuse it and say that nothing could or would change. Because you can't change other people. So I went no contact. My dad would actually go to my work through this process and harass my manager for my work schedule to try to keep tabs on me. By the end of the process, I had a new job, new phone, new car, and a new address that I wouldn't give either of them. Going no contact with my parents started some unexpected fallouts with other family members, mostly on my dad's side of the family. Because of this, I went media dark for a few years and hardly spoke with any family. I didn't have the energy to be gaslit about my abuse by people who weren't there to witness it. When I was 24, a few years into being no contact, my younger brother reached out over suicidal ideology, depression, anxiety, and just not feeling safe at home. I offered him to come live with me and finish his last year in high school. He did and would later move in with our maternal grandparents. Both of my brothers remain in contact with our parents, even my younger brother. Though it's difficult to live with my mother's parents and avoid their daughter, this context brings on the issue. I love my maternal grandparents. They have been a consistent source of support and security in my life. They didn't question me when I first told them that I was going no contact and have never given up my info, like phone number or address, to my parents. The problem is, every Christmas, when my grandma visits, she brings a gift from my estranged mom. Every year, I tell her that I do not accept gifts from my parents, but every year, she tries again. Grandma's in her 70s now, and I try to be patient with her, with how her age does affect her memory, but she knows that I don't associate with my parents. I debated on sending my mom a letter, telling her to stop asking my grandma to do this for her. I have thought of sending a letter because I don't want to get on her level and use my grandma as a messenger between us the way she tries to. But I've also considered how it's ineffective to try and negotiate with someone who clearly doesn't respect your boundaries, and the fact that the whole reason she does the gift thing is to try to get me to talk to her. Therefore, if I send her a letter, no matter what it says, for her it means her idea worked. She could just end up encouraged to continue because she got what she was looking for: contact. So I'm left to think, how can I be more clear to my grandmother that there is no scenario where I'm going to accept a gift from my mother? Am I overreacting by having this pit in my stomach every time she offers a gift and says, "It's from your mom"? Should I just be content with the facts she accepts no as an answer every time? Would it be reading into things too much to consider that my grandma doesn't fully accept my wish for no contact with my parents by agreeing to bring these gifts? I hate feeling at odds with my grandmother. I love her a lot, and more than anything, I wish my mom would stop trying to use her as a line to me. It's unfair. What would you do? Okay. So, this is a mess. This is a very big mess. And I feel for you, OP, but I also really feel for your grandmother, because she herself is in a really tough place. She probably feels like she's trapped between her daughter and her grandchild. And I can see where that would be a hard place to kind of, for her to toe that line, trying to keep everyone happy, because she doesn't have a problem with your mom and she doesn't have a problem with you, even though you two have a problem with each other. So I can see where that's hard for her. And you do point out her age. I don't think you said how old she is. Okay, she's in her 70s, and that's not that old, but obviously everyone's mentality declines at a different rate, depending on disease and all that. So honestly, if it were me, and I completely respect like your desire for no contact, 100%. But if it were me, I would just go on refusing the gift every year when grandma brings it. As long as she is not pressuring you or trying to force you and she accepts your no when you say no, I think that's probably the best you're going to do. I agree with you that writing a letter or any form of contact with your mom is a bad idea. I think you're right. That will encourage her more. That is a form of contact. She got what she wanted. And I don't think it's fair to your grandma. If you've already had a conversation with her about being no contact and why you do not accept these gifts, if you've already had that conversation and told her that you do not want them and she continues to bring them, she probably really feels like she has to bring them from your mom to maintain that relationship that she has with your mom. So to not put her in a worse place, I know it's uncomfortable for you, but it's easy enough every year. She says, hey, this present's from your mom. You say, no, I don't want it. And she accepts your no. I think that's just really the easiest thing that you can do to keep everyone as comfortable as possible. I know it's not completely a comfortable situation, but I think you just continuing to say no every year protects your grandma in her relationships. And I think that's the right thing to prioritize here. So this is a mess. And my advice is just to keep saying no. All right, that was a good one. That one was also only posted 3 days ago and it only has 6 comments. So I will leave my comment on there. And you guys, if you would like, follow the link in the description so you can also leave your advice for OP. Was that story number 4? Yes. Okay, so let's get to story number 5. Let's find one. Ooh. Okay. There's like 3 good ones I see. We probably have enough time for 2. We might have enough time for 3. So we'll just pick them in the order that they appeared on my screen. And let's copy that. Okay, story number 5 is coming to us from r/AITA relationships. AITA for not forgiving my wife for cheating. Immediate reaction to the title. No, you're not wrong. No, you're not the asshole there. But let's see the details. And this one's actually a really short one, so we're probably getting to those next 2 stories. AITA for not forgiving my wife for cheating. When me, 32 male, and my wife, 30 female, were still engaged, she had told me that she viewed looking at porn the same as cheating. She caught me looking at porn and we called off the wedding and broke up. She eventually forgave me and we ended up getting married the next year. Now, 2.5 years later, I caught her cheating and she lied to me about it. I don't think I can forgive her and want a divorce. AITA when she forgave me for porn, but I do not think I can forgive her for cheating. I think I might be, but I don't think I can. OP, you're right. And I know people have varying opinions on it, but looking and touching are not the same. And regardless of how wrong either may be, porn and actually physically or emotionally cheating with another accessible, attainable human being are not the same thing. Porn was her boundary. She considered that cheating and she was willing to look past that. But everyone is different. And if you're not comfortable forgiving a cheater, and if you're not able to continue trusting that person, especially after that physical boundary was broken. You are not the a-hole. You have every right to say, this is not something that I can move past. This is a hard boundary for me, and this relationship is over as a result of your actions. That is 100% fair for you to make that decision. So this is messy, but you are right. All right, we are getting to story number 6, guys. Copy my link. This could definitely go a little faster if I did all this behind the scenes stuff before I got on here, but I like to be surprised with you guys. Okay. I'm going to post a poll too to see whether you guys prefer when I edit out my little bloopers and when I edit out this part that I'm doing here, or if you guys prefer just the raw video, just me being me sitting here in this chair doing all the things. So I'll post a poll and you guys can let me know which way you like it better. Let's see. Okay. So story, are we on 6? Oh. Yeah, story number 6. Okay. This one is coming to us from r/Am I the Bad Apple? Am I the bad apple for exposing family secrets? I, 15 male, have an uncle who loves to prank and joke, even if you tell him to stop, but he never stops. This Christmas I was over there and all of a sudden everyone was giving me dirty looks and icy glares. Apparently my uncle joked that I had stolen $200 from his wallet, which is a lie. I didn't do it, and my parents dealt with it and confirmed it was a joke. A lot of people apologized to me, but some people didn't believe them. But it came crashing down after dinner, and my uncle was just joking around and roasting people even though everyone told him to stop. But then he saw me and said, "At least I don't look like a deformed gorilla." And I snapped back, "At least I didn't have an affair." Context, my uncle had a 5-month affair with someone, and my family covered it up on our family group chat and never told my aunt to keep the peace. Everyone looked shocked, and my aunt told me to give her proof, so I gave her the messages. And she left, and she is now not talking to anyone. Now everyone says I took it too far, and he was just kidding around. And some relatives are considering cutting me off, while some are giving me the silent treatment, but my parents 100% are siding with me and have been defending me. But now I'm wondering, am I the bad apple for exposing my family secrets? Ooh. Okay, so this is a mess. I mean, yeah, we're going to call this one a mess because my answer is kind of yes and no. I do think that it needed to come out. The aunt deserved to know. And I think shame on so many people in your family for covering it up. But also, context, setting. Christmas dinner was not the time, and the way that you did it. The way that you did it is the only thing that makes it wrong. Because in that moment, you didn't say it to help your aunt. You didn't say it because you thought she deserved the truth. You said it to hurt your uncle. And that's the only part where you were wrong in this situation. Ultimately, it's good that it's out. I'm glad that she knows. But yeah, you did it for the wrong reasons. You did it to hurt someone rather than to help someone. And if you really wanted to help your aunt, you would have told her when it first came out. So, because it's a yes and no answer, we're just going to call this one a mess. Ultimately, it's good that she knows now, but yeah, this was not the way to do it. So, do better in the future. I mean, hopefully it taught your uncle a lesson and he will quit behaving that way. He probably won't. It probably taught him nothing other than to hate you. But yeah, I understand that you needed to snap back that what he said was horrible and someone needed to put him in his place. But that wasn't the way to do it. This episode is probably going to come out a little bit shorter. We are ending with 6 stories today, so not bad. They were all just short stories. So that is all for today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.